So the one thing with this zero turn is that when you add the original chute on, the big plastic end piece here, it sticks out like 15 inches from the side of the mower, which is just excessive. And I mean, I'm cutting a rather small lawn with this mower, so I'm constantly maneuvering around fences and little odds and ends in the backyard. So it's too much to have that flap on, and if you completely remove it, it does throw out a lot of stuff out the side. So I did actually have an incident a couple of years ago with this same mower where I shot a rock out and it smashed through my truck window. So I certainly do not want that happening again, and I do not want anything possibly launching out when the kids are outside or anything like that. So I'm trying to avoid anything like that as possible. I did look online, and they do have, there's two options. There's a full mulching kit. I do have the mulching blades on here. So you can buy the mulching kit, which basically consists of this entire undercarriage that needs to be bolted on underneath the deck. There's a lot of different pieces, and what that really does is it tries to fully self-contain all of the grass clippings and leaves that are in there and keep it cycling around in there to completely mulch it. That's really great, and it does an amazing job. The problem is it's just way too much money for what I'm trying to accomplish here. So I'm not necessarily trying to completely mulch all of the grass I'm cutting. I've used this thing this way for many years, and it's worked great. So, and it really doesn't launch a lot of stuff out the side. It's just every once in a while you get a rock or a stick or something in there, then it just wants to take off. So that's option one, is the full mulching kit for almost $500. The other option is what's sometimes labeled as a chute deflector, which basically is just a big rubber pad that just kind of flips down in front of this. And it's kind of cool because it has a big lever that you could sort of activate while you're in the chair. And you just push or pull the lever and it'll open or close a big flap here. The other issue with that is the price. I mean, it's that alone is almost $300. So, you know, for what I'm trying to do, I was like, let me just sort of figure out something that I could block this end off with, and I think that's going to do more than what I need. So what I did is I actually just went to the hardware store, bought a piece of sheet metal. I don't know the actual gauge of it, but it's thicker than just a real thin piece of sheet metal, but it's also thin enough where I could just cut it with metal shears. I used to do auto body many years ago, so I'm very, skilled in at least working metal and cutting metal. However, I don't have all my brakes and benders and all that stuff, so I'm working with what I have. I have typical grinders, shears, everything. I mean, I'm able to get tools if I need to, but we're just building something quick here to keep grass clippings from flying out and rocks from flying out. So what I did, like I said, I went to the store, bought a piece of metal. I've already sort of shaped this a little bit. I'm not going too crazy. If I was doing some auto body and trying to make like a rust repair and actually getting this thing to fit absolutely perfect to be able to weld on, certainly capable of it. And this kind of does make me miss it a little bit, but I'm sure it would get real old quick if I was working on it. So what I did is I sort of just kind of marked out what I needed at first, trimmed the metal, bent it a little bit. We're going to have a little bit of gaps in here and stuff, but that's completely fine for what we're trying to do. So let me just pull this back a little bit so you can see the shape of it. And you could sort of see that there's a big chunk of metal right here and over here. And there's already some holes here. So what my thought is basically just lining this up. I'm just trying to work this in here. And actually just adding a couple L brackets to here and here, and then just bolting on the left and the right side. And that's going to really keep that thing completely mounted on there, really solid. And then we'll just scuff it up and clean it up and paint it green so it'll match the deck. And that should do the job. Okay, so here's what we came up with is we have our shield here that we bent up. And this actually will just pop right in here. And I was able to kind of utilize some holes that were already here on the deck. And that will help hold these L brackets that I bolted in here. Just had to drill out the holes a little bigger. Bent them in the right position so it'll pull that panel back a little bit. I drilled a hole here and drilled one in here. And I'm just going ahead and use some washers and a nut. with a lock washer to keep everything snug in place. Alright, so after a couple coats of paint, it actually turned out better than I expected. So the color match is spot on for this John Deere. It's actually, I was very surprised it actually matched that good. So it's just Rust-Oleum Farm and Implement JD Green. So it was supposed to match, but like I said, I'm actually shocked how perfect that color looks. So yeah, I mean, it's exactly what I expected. Like I said, it kind of turned out a little better than I thought. I didn't think it would blend in so well, but painting it certainly helped. So I went ahead and scuffed up the metal, cleaned it off, degreased it, used some self-etching primer on it, let that dry in the sun, scuffed it up a little more, and then we went ahead and bolted it together and did a couple coats of that paint. And you know, it's probably not going to be completely rust proof. I did bolt it on and then decide to paint it. I could have painted it separate, but you know, it's not like this thing is seeing salt or anything, so if a little bit of water hangs out in there, I'm sure over a couple years it'll get some rust on it, but it's definitely going to do the job. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video, guys.